Welcome back. This is Rafi Rosenberg from rafirosenberg.com forward slash Shluchim, as well as Skylake Chabad. I'm speaking to you about technology in Shlichus. And I'd like to iterate one point before I move forward. We're going to be speaking about Pipedrive today, which I think is going to be very, very important in your Shlichus. But I'd like to iterate one point before we go forward. And that is just to point out that it's very important to understand that the primary objective of technology is to support your existing processes. That means three things. Number one, you need to know what your process is. It's very difficult to use technology to support it if you can't define what the process is. Number two, you have to understand that almost always the technology is not going to do the work for you. The technology is going to support you in your work. So it's going to take away some of the repetitive tasks. It's going to ensure that things perhaps are a little bit more organized, but ultimately you need to do the work. Number three is you need to make sure that the technology is the right technology that will be able to support your process and not slow you down and make you take too many extra steps. So that's just a general thing. Once again, technology is meant to support your existing processes. The process that we're going to be working on now and for the next 3 or 4 videos, maybe even a couple more, is one of the most important processes in our shlichus, and that is Mivtza Tzedakah. We have the obligation to reach out to the people in our community and ask them to become partners with us in the Rebbe's work. That is a significant part of our shlichus. My guess is for the average one of us, it should take at least 1/3 of our day. That's just a random number, but I think that the Shlish B'Mikra, Shlish B'Mishnah, following the Rambam's rules, 1/3, perhaps, this is just a statement, maybe it's right, wrong, but perhaps 1/3 in fundraising, and that doesn't just mean in the actual activity of asking people for money, but 1/3 in fundraising, 1/3 in just reaching out to Jews and helping them in whatever way we know how, and 1/3 perhaps in running our businesses. But that's neither here nor there. The process that we're working on is the fundraising process. And the technology that I'm suggesting that it becomes absolutely a critical support for your fundraising process is called Pipedrive. Pipedrive.com, Pipedrive.com, Pipedrive. I'll put it down at the bottom of this video as well. So Pipedrive.com is really all about making sure that we have the most important information available to us at any given minute. My opinion, and I think that there is a logic to this opinion, that there are 3 pieces of information that we must always be aware of when we are involved in the fundraising process. Number 1, where is any specific donor holding in our cultivation process? We'll discuss this in more detail in an upcoming video, but ultimately there has to be some sort of process from where a donor becomes a simple name on a piece of paper to where that donor has actually taken out his credit card or checkbook or cash and has handed it over to you for the purposes of the use in your shlichus. At a later date, we'll try to define what the steps might be, but my point that I'm trying to make here is that it is absolutely critical at every given moment to be able to know where every single donor that we expect to ask for money, where exactly are they in our cultivation process, and we'll discuss this a little bit later. The second most important, and it's just not necessarily in any order, the second critical piece of information that you must always know is what am I hoping to get from that donor? It's typically a number amount, and this is just my own feeling. Whatever number you think it is, double it. That means if you think that you're going to raise $1,800, ask for $3,600. There are people who will disagree with me. I'm not in for this debate right now, but there's a logic to my madness in this as well. Regardless, the important thing is that you really know what it is that you're going to ask this donor for. The third important thing, and this may be the most important, is what and when is the next action I need to take in regards to this donor and this donation. It's all about action. At the end of the day, we live in the world of action. We know this from Chassidus. We know this from many other places as well. It's all about action and it's all about activities. If I do not know what my next activity for any given donor is, I'm lost with that donor. Not only do I have to know what it is, but I have to know when I'm planning on doing it. So once again, the three critical pieces of information that we're going to be using Pipedrive for primarily are to know where each donor is holding in our process of cultivation. Number two, to know how much we expect to ask for each one of these donors. And number three, and probably most critical, is to know exactly what and when is the next action I'm going to take with this donor. Just to explain the third one a little bit better, actions could be anything including a phone call, a meeting, an email, a present, a gift that I plan to give him, invite them for Shabbos, invite them for lunch. All of these are actions, activities. So I need to know when am I going to do it and what is it that I'm going to do. This is true in every sales process, not just in donations and asking for donations. In every sales process, we need to know exactly what it is we need to do next with the donor. Ultimately, there's nothing in the world that we can do that will actually make a donor take money out of his pocket, or at least nothing legal, that we can do that will make a donor take money out of his pocket and give it to us. But there are activities that we need to do, activities that we need to take, actions that we need to take that will help that donor move along the line to the point where he's ready to help us and become partners with us in our critical work. So Pipedrive, I believe, is the best-in-class software for people like us. To be honest, it's not designed exactly for donations. But as I said in the beginning, the initial video, is that there's going to be a number of things where we're going to work around a little bit, but all for the benefit of using best-in-class software. There are donor softwares that maybe have more specific advantages, but this is so easy to use, so visual, and the most important thing is it keeps pushing and pushing and pushing to ask us, what is your next activity? You must always know what your next activity is, and that's your strongest chance of being successful with any and every individual donor. Now, for the sake of Pipedrive, I'm going to define a donor as a specific person who you are planning on making a specific solicitation for a specific amount. And that's going to become very important as we move through the next videos. So just to reiterate, we're involved in the wholesale sales process. We're not selling millions of little trinkets that everything needs to be completely automated. We're really in a man-to-man combat zone. We're in a area where we need to spend a lot of time cultivating our donors, spending time with them, making sure that they know that we love them, making sure that they know that we need them, and it really to help us with this process, getting them from an idea to a check in the bank. We're going to be using Pipedrive to help us remember the three and keep track of the three most critical things. Number one, where is the donor holding in our cultivation process? Number two, what am I expecting or hoping to get from this donor? And number three, what and when is the next action that I must take with this donor? Hatzlacha Rabbah, and I hope that you'll listen to the next video as well. Always feel free to reach out to me, Shluchim at RafiRosenberg.com, or just visit my website, RafiRosenberg.com /Shluchim. All the best. Hatzlacha Rabbah.